change for the future. This audience is part of an awful lot of why the issue resonated when Trump ran on it, and why Republicans and Democrats, for that matter, but need to understand this is an issue Americans care about and want to know more about. So this event ideally ought to be replicated by different organizations and others with more amplification of these core issues because, I salute you guys. The seedbed of many years of working on this issue are part of why Trump's in the White House today.
And as we stand right now, Russ, this is a really historic moment. Has the potential to be game-changing, culture-changing.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at some of the literature that you guys put out, and it's great. I know you've been doing this for a very long time, but one of the subtitles on here, interesting. We cannot squander this historic opportunity for true immigration reform. So what's different now? Why do we have the opportunity now as opposed to, 5, 10 years ago?
Well, I've been at this for 35, 40 years now. FAIR's been around that long, but we've done a lot of research on the power alignment of the issue. Because big money, Wall Street financial interests work with the far left to try to hold wages down, and that's what and build political power. There's an asymmetry to the power curve. What we've done in the analysis is show that if we can get the White House and proper controls in the Judiciary Committees in the Senate and House with a cooperative congressional leadership, we can move mountains because power is very much centralized at the federal level in these different areas. We've got General Sessions over at DOJ, Secretary Kelly, General Kelly, great guys at DHS. We have in place the core factors to really be game-changing momentum. Plus, Trump's engaged, leaning in. He doesn't get distracted with tweets. He stays on message, right? And he's pushing the wall. Now, the question is, will the congressional leadership hear from the American public so that we don't see what we call malicious compliance, where they're pretending to get stuff done, but meantime stuffing checks in their pockets from these big money interests? The only way we can do that is by holding them accountable, tracking the promises, and calling them out when they don't. Look, the Republicans could expand their majority easily in the Senate in 2018. A lot of Democrats are running in states that went for Trump, but they have to make Democrats take the hard votes, and McConnell needs to jam these very specific proposals through. This momentum cannot be lost or squandered, and we have a window. If they enlarge the majority in 2018, we have another window in 2019. If we're not all dodo birds by then, I don't know about you guys, but
Well, you have many, many, many years left of work to do, so don't worry about that.
Well, anyway, the point is we have an engagement process. You go on our website, you can see that we're tracking the promises, telling you what's been done, what hasn't been done, but most importantly, we tell you why it's not getting done. We tell you who the obstruction players are, the people who are trying to throw sticks and rocks in Trump's path, and we give you the tools to make it different.
Yeah, I'm looking at one of those.
I love everywhere around FAIR are the signs about what Trump promises are, and the materials that has been culminated by FAIR for us are telling us where we stand going forward in the first, 7 months of the Trump administration, 6 months Trump administration, something like that. And it's so refreshing to see an organization, I don't want to use the hold their feet to the fire joke again that we've been using with everyone, but to keeping the pressure on a friendly administration and making sure that voters remain woke, if I want to steal a word from the liberals.
Right. Immigration can be an important and complex issue, and it would be easier if Trump said, here's the plan, and it was an omnibus legislative plan called Trump's Plan, and it was identified identically in the House and the Senate. That kind of unified messaging would make it easier for us to retain focus for grassroots activists. The fragmented approach to the legislative picture, because we're looking this week to get action in the House on what's called Kate's Law, an anti-sanctuary law, ramping up reentries for criminal deported aliens who come back in, as well as an earlier bill that Lou Barletta introduced from Pennsylvania that passed to make sure people don't qualify for the health care exchanges unless they're here legally. These bills are great, and they're important, and they will certainly, if they go to the Senate, they're going to make Dems take tougher votes. But the problem is, messaging-wise, how do people keep their focus? So our solution is our Trump Promises page, where you can keep track of what's going on, one-stop shop, and naturally the engagement of talk radio. Americans who care about the Democrats need to listen and understand if they're going to give Trump won the election because Hillary Clinton abandoned the traditional Democratic Party position that you have to have a finite labor supply for bargaining leverage. And if you flood the labor market with foreign labor, people got that in these blue states. Trump saw the opportunity when Hillary picked up the baton from Obama, left a massive strategic loophole for Trump to run through. Now, can you convince these Wall Street Republicans that they need to abandon this cheap labor mantra long enough to take advantage of this incredible political opportunity, follow Trump's lead? That's what we have to prove in the next 4 years.
Even though it's somewhat symbolic, are we going to get that wall built?
Well, you've seen our mug. You know?
Yeah, the mug.
See the mug? Yeah.
You put the coffee in the mug, and the wall gets built with the coffee mug.
We're going to build it out of these coffee mugs.
I'm hoping this is one of those things Trump can negotiate away.
Fair's been at this a long time. I have in my office a model of a wall we built in 1989 to show how to do it. Strategic structures along the border, which have been actually funded by Congress, by Schumer, by Obama, by Hill. They voted for this stuff. Now with Trump, we don't vote for any of that stuff now. You don't need a wall 2,000 miles of them, but there are key areas along the border that are strategic because they're high traffic areas, so you need it to channel the flow. Integrated plan, aerial surveillance, drones, backup enforcement, detention space, mandatory detention, rapid and summary proceedings. You need the deterrence because you see without even a single brick, the crossings are plummeting just on the basis of reduced expectations of success. So, but he has to build the wall because it's his street cred. Trump's going to build a tower appears. If the Dems know, if he can't get the wall built, he looks like an emasculated eunuch politically, if you know what I mean. Okay.
He's got to make his announcement for re-election in front of a section of the wall that's built. Otherwise, I don't see how he gets re-elected.
Wall, right? Big
beautiful wall with solar power.
Nobody builds walls better. I mean,
so there's going to be a wall. It might be 3 miles, but there's going to be a wall.
There's got to be something. Okay.
All right. So now, where do you see fair? You have a Republican House, Republican Senate. We have a majority restored on the Supreme Court, and we see that in the recent decision that things are going in the right direction. How do you avoid complacency now when you have Trump championing issues, you have Democrats on the run, especially with Kate's Law and No Sanctuary for Criminals Act? How do we avoid saying, okay, victory, checkmark, moving on to another topic, and this loses the national consciousness?
Gene, that is a fabulous question. Complacency is our biggest enemy right now. Trump is a can-do guy, but without our support, his enthusiasm will exceed the equipment, the rhetoric will exceed performance. This was a populist uprising that elected him. The guy came out of nowhere, not even elected dog catcher. He's president of the United States, right? Obviously, he had some name recognition. But he did this in part on the strength of the immigration issue. This engagement cannot stop. Trump is going out there talking at the rallies, reinvigorating the issue. He's making it clear to Paul Ryan, McConnell, they want to run away from the issue. Our fear is they're going to say, we did these little bills, small ball, we did immigration. Now we're going to go back to squander all this capital on an unsuccessful health care. Their whole strategy doesn't seem to be message focused. Trump understands you can't lose control of the message. That's why he hangs on to Twitter. McConnell doesn't understand anything about grassroots messaging, and yet, it's all about internal tactics. So our goal has to be to keep up the focus, keep up the momentum, and hold them accountable.
And that'll do it for this week's show. Of course, we want to thank Dan Stein and the Federation for American Immigration Reform for hosting us for 2 days at their great Hold Their Feet to the Fire Radio Row event. But for now, if you want more, you're going to have to check out www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us for some bonus content. Some great interviews that didn't make the cut for the first 2 shows. Kevin Jackson, Maria Espinosa from the Remembrance Project. Whole bunch of great guests that we're going to be doing some stories on our blog. But until then, and until next week, it's time to shut this sucker down. Thanks for listening to the show. This is Behind Enemy Lines, and we are out of here. Good night, folks. Our position has been compromised. It's time to roll out. Report for debriefing at www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us and look for regular communications via Facebook and Twitter at BEL_radio. You are the resistance. Behind Enemy Lines. A Rock Radio production. Back in 7 days. Out.